Welcome to The Explainer. You know that feeling, right? When a simple discussion suddenly gets heated and just turns into a fight? Well, today we're going to break down a simple but really powerful framework of just 3 rules that can totally change how you argue and turn all that frustration into some real understanding. Let's get into it.
So let's start with a classic pop culture debate. Would Beyoncé be the icon she is today without Jay-Z? It seems kind of harmless, but you know how these things go. Discussions like this can escalate, and fast. All of a sudden, you're not just talking about music anymore. You're defending your own values, or your independence. Your identity gets all tangled up in the argument.
And that's the exact moment a good conversation just dies. The goal isn't to explore an idea together anymore, it's just to win. Logic goes right out the window, emotion takes over, and all you're left with are hurt feelings and zero resolution. We see this happen everywhere, from the dinner table to the workplace.
But what if there was a better way? Turns out, there is. A time-tested framework for civil debate that can guide us through even the toughest conversations. So today, we're breaking down 3 rules that can help us argue better, not just louder.
Okay, let's dive into Rule 1, agree on facts. This one is the absolute foundation. Seriously, without it, any argument is just built on quicksand.
So this rule creates what's called an epistemological covenant. I know, that's a mouthful, but it's just a fancy way of saying you both agree to operate in the same reality. Before you can even start debating why something happened, you have to agree on what happened. You gotta have that shared foundation of facts. The legal system actually gives us a perfect model for this. Think about it. Lawyers can't just start arguing a case until both sides agree on the basic evidence. If a key fact is disputed, everything stops until they figure it out. You just can't build a logical argument on a shaky foundation. And here's what this looks like when it goes wrong at work. I'm sure you've heard something like this before. This statement is a total logical foul. It's called shifting the burden of proof. The person making the accusation is the one who has to provide the evidence. It's not on John to prove a negative, it's on the accuser to back up their claim with actual facts.
So Rule 1 is basically your defense against these kinds of bad faith tactics. It shuts down strategies like the Gish Gallop, where someone just throws a ton of baseless claims at you so you can't possibly fact check them all. By just calmly saying, hey, hold on, let's just verify that one fact first, you force the conversation back onto solid ground. The goal isn't always to agree, but to at least achieve accurate disagreement, where you're both arguing about the same reality.
Okay, once you've got the facts straight, Rule 2 kicks in. Respect the person. And this is all about how you actually engage with the other person.
I love this boxing metaphor. A win is only impressive if it's against a worthy opponent, right? If you twist their argument to make it weaker and easier to attack, which is a straw man fallacy, by the way, then your victory means nothing. A real intellectual debate means you have to respect and preserve the dignity of the person you're debating with.
This chart really shows the 2 different paths you can take. In a civil debate, your opponent is like a partner, helping you find the truth. But in a polemic, they're just an enemy you need to beat. Figuring out which game you're playing is absolutely key. Are you here to learn something, or are you just here to win?
This is all about separating the argument from the person's identity. If you dismiss an idea by saying something like, well, you're in marketing, so of course you'd say that, that's an ad hominem attack. It's not a real counter-argument. The idea has to be judged on its own merits. Full stop.
This quote just sums it up perfectly. Be hard on ideas and soft on people. You can and you should challenge an idea. Poke holes in it, test its limits, really go at it. But you have to do it while treating the person who brought it up with respect. That's the secret to having intense debates without blowing up your relationships.
And that brings us to Rule 3, which honestly is probably the most powerful mindset shift of them all. Learn, don't win.
This one rule changes the entire game. You're not trying to win a fight anymore, you're trying to gain some understanding. The only way you can score points is if the other person genuinely says, you know what, that's a really good point. It totally transforms the dynamic from a battle into a team effort to find the best idea.
This means you have to stop straw manning and start steel manning. So instead of attacking a weak, distorted version of your opponent's argument, you do the complete opposite. You help build their argument into its strongest, most convincing form. And then you see if your own position can actually hold up against that.
So here it is, the ultimate test of steel manning. Can you state the other person's position so clearly and fairly that they'd actually say, thanks, I honestly couldn't have said it better myself?
Only when you've reached that level of understanding have you truly earned the right to start critiquing their view.
And there's a super practical way to do this called Rappaport's Rules. It's a 4-step roadmap. First, you restate their position. Then, you find some common ground. After that, you mention something you've learned from them. And only then, after all that, do you offer your criticism. It's an incredible tool for de-escalation and a total game changer for those really tough conversations.
So this all sounds really great in theory, right? Maybe a little too perfect? The big question is, can these rules actually work in the real world, especially when things get heated?
Well, the answer is a resounding yes. And we're seeing it happen. Groups like Braver Angels are using these exact principles to help people bridge huge political divides on college campuses and in communities. They're proving that, yeah, productive dialogue is actually possible, even on the most sensitive topics.
If you look at their process, it's literally built on these 3 rules. They make people direct questions to a neutral moderator. That enforces Rule 2, no personal attacks. They insist on getting the facts straight, which is Rule 1. And their main goal is what they call collective truth-finding, which is just the perfect embodiment of Rule 3.
And the results are pretty amazing. The goal isn't to make everybody agree. It's to have deeper, more rigorous, more honest debates about the things that divide us, all while rebuilding the empathy and trust we desperately need to function as a society. So here's the bottom line. When you shift your goal from winning to learning, absolutely everything changes. So the next time you find yourself in a disagreement, at work, with your family, wherever, just try applying these 3 rules. Instead of asking yourself, how can I win this? Ask yourself, what can I learn?